Hello, it's week 2, day 2 of the League of Legends World Championship group stage. I was planning to do one video a day this week because of the 500 Facebook likes. I'm still planning to do that, but my original idea was to make sure these videos go up at the start of group stage when I get to the venue, and then let those be slight previews that you can watch along with the games, things like that. So I was going to do one that was an IEM San Jose overview, which was yesterday, one that was going to be about EDG in Group C, one that was going to be about LGD in Group D, and one that was going to be about Invictus Gaming in Group B, right? Unfortunately, I had a lot of trouble with the venue internet yesterday, so that's not really going to happen. I had a video planned about EDG today. If I have time at the end of the week, I might do one about EDG, but instead I'm going to do one about LGD. It's unfortunate because the EDG one is a better topic, which is how EDG can adapt to the lane swap meta because they're not typically a lane swap team. We'll see what happens today. The LGD one is going to be about Acorn versus Flame. Now, my colleague, Fion, wrote a nice article about it that you can find at thescoreusports.com. I actually haven't read it yet. I'm going to probably do that after this video, but I wanted to make sure I got my thoughts out before reading his, since I think he probably has a different perspective than I do, because most of his information will come from watching them in the OGN, and most of my information will come from watching them play in the LPL, and those are the games that I've studied just a lot more. Historically, the difference between Acorn and Flame is that Acorn's been really utility oriented, right? Better at teleports. He was credited with some of Samsung's Blue's understanding of wave clear, right? And using the minions in the top lane and lane swaps and all this other stuff. He did some of the coaching for LGD this summer. He's a very smart guy. Traditionally, Flame, who's probably also very smart, I don't know, whatever. I haven't actually talked to either of them. He's more known for the carry-oriented style, you know, the Flame Horizon, getting 100 minions over his opponent, carrying games really hard on picks like Shyvana, etc. I think both of them kind of melded a little bit in the LPL. They joined forces. Acorn learned more carry picks like Aurelia and Hecarim. Flame learned a lot more tanks. He learned to play like a pretty good rumble, and even in lane swaps, right? Because traditionally he wasn't known for dealing with lane swaps especially well, and a really strong Gnar. I actually think one of the interesting things about them this spring, and I've mentioned this before, so I apologize if you've heard it already, is that Acorn is a better Hecarim and Flame is a better Gnar player. So that was an interesting development that kind of came out. Well, I think traditionally you'll see Flame try to make the carry plays, right? And you'll see Acorn try to, make the TPs, all this other stuff. And Acorn's teleports have been struggling, and those are usually a result of team communication, which for me, I think that has been a really big thing about the LPL teams right now. It's just the lack of communication. We're seeing teams that speak all the same language having a little bit more success, I think, than some of the hybrid teams. Even Fnatic is struggling a little bit. You can see some of their awkward decision making in terms of Huni going forward. Even though I think at this point Huni and Reignover both speak really good English, I still think we're having some issues with them maybe just not gelling. I think that's actually ultimately the thing. I don't know if it's necessarily the language barrier or if there's just some miscommunication or some awkwardness between teams that's not related to the language barrier, because we've seen it a little bit in Network Gaming, we've seen it a little bit in Invictus Gaming, we've seen it a little bit in LGD. So I don't think swapping out Flame and Acorn is actually going to make that much of a difference, especially since Flame has played a little bit less with the team. They've expressed that communication and synergy is actually easier with Acorn, so it could hurt them a little bit. Unfortunately, I really don't see, if they played like they were last week, them making it out of the group at all. Or winning a game, actually. They would probably go 0-6, and I don't think that some of the mistakes they were making are things that are easily fixable, because some of the mistakes they were making are actually just underperformance of players. In the case of Edward Gaming, last week they made an awkward decision. I think Invictus Gaming, we saw their players ramp up a bit. Like Kid found champions that he can be stable on, like Callista. He was a little bit better. He has a couple more champions like that, so even if Callista's banned, he can be okay. With LGD, it was more just, across the board. The players were under practice, they were underperforming. There was sicknesses, there was miscommunication. They didn't understand the meta. They weren't even playing to their own strengths, which are lane swapping, and that's not something you can fix in a week, I don't think. So in that case, it's almost like ready to take a gamble. Okay, let's play Flame. So for that reason, I think it's a good decision. I still really don't have high expectations because I think a lot of the other problems will still be present. Especially in a day, we showed that over the course of 3 days, I feel like Imp and PYL, the bottom lane, who were actually performing better in the first day, seemed to get tilted, right? So the just teams seem to fall apart. They said they had a really, really long conversation. They worked out a few things, get some understanding of what they were going to do a little bit. I actually interviewed PYL this week. I was able to do this and catch him out, and he was pretty candid. The interview will probably come out at about the same time as this video. You can check it out at thescoresports.com as well, and if it's out before this video, I'll link it. He said that LGD's used to getting control through mid and bottom. If they're not able to get control through bottom due to misplays, which happened a lot, and if they're not able to get control through mid because Godway is honestly just playing awful, they have to try to get control somewhere and split up the map that way. And PYL said that maybe a big issue here is that a lot of the successful teams are getting control through the top lane, which usually they delegate really low resources top. Honestly, I don't think they can fix that. I think their best option, though, might be to do the lane swap, okay? If they approach the game through the lane swap and they do a duo lane, because what Gorilla and Smeb did in the Flash Wolves game against CLG with the support top duo, and I've seen LGD do this a couple times. I've seen some Chinese teams do this, but I think it's definitely more of a Korean adaptation where they do the duo support top, because they've been doing that a lot more this year. I think that if they can pull that off, if PYL and Flame have some kind of synergy, that can be the best way for them to get control. If they do the lane swap and they send support top, and then they have Imp 1v1 the enemy top laner, I think that they can try to get control through the side lanes. The problem is again, LGD is a team that usually functions by getting control through the middle, so they're going to have to play a completely different style from something they've practiced all year. And their ability to roam across the map, the fact that TBQ himself doesn't buy a lot of wards, so they rely on Godway getting a lead, spending his lead money on placing vision, that's really, really hard to fix. Like, especially if you're a team that's struggling to communicate, which they seem to be, I don't actually know. And this could be related to the language barrier, this could be related to anything, of course. Getting someone else to establish or take control of vision from the person who usually does, and explaining like where the wards need to go, that can be really, really complicated. So I have really, really low expectations for this swap. Sure, a lot of Flame fans are happy to see Flame play, but please at the end don't say something like, LGD, not even Flame could carry this team, LGD is so bad. Because that just kind of makes you look like an idiot. I mean, I looked like an idiot all week, right? I should know. I've looked like an idiot for forever. Because there are so many problems in LGD right now outside who they're playing top. And I think Flame could potentially be part of it. I'm not saying yes, 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 no, yes, no. He could have a great performance, and it could just be, but I think if it's communication related, he won't necessarily fix that. So I don't really think that you can say that he's the only one not to blame, because he could also be part of it. This is a ramble, but anyway, that kind of statement is just gonna probably tell me, which might be good because then I'll get drunk again, right? And people seem to enjoy the drunk VOD review. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and see you soon.